All right, we're on to the next shelf. Again, shouldn't have too much seasickness problem because I've got everything down on this tripod. First up, I'm just going to show off. I've got some of these James Bond, World of James Bond scenarios or what have you. I don't actually have the original game, and so I'm in one of those little soul-searching moments where I'm trying to decide if I'm just going to get rid of these source books and supplements, or if I am going to either track down the original rules on eBay or buy, apparently there is a retro clone available on drive-thru, the name of which is escaping me right now. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that, so they're still here and they're still on the shelf. Up next after that, we have Noble Armada. This was, I think, miniature games for Fading Suns. I don't know. I wasn't really into the miniature games, but I got it because it had, some maps and ship stuff. Fading Suns, first edition and second edition. I ran 2 years of Fading Suns. It was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. It was both the best and worst thing I think I ever ran because it had a lot of my failures, but also had a lot of my high points. I really enjoyed it, and I'm not going to drag them all out, but other than Passion Play, which is the live-action game, there's just, I think everything done for the first and or second edition of the game, including in some places, I think a couple of reprints where they went and collected things together. I really like the setting a lot, but I was not able to properly sell it to my crew, and I feel like I never really got anybody else on board with it the way I was. So even though I ran it for 2 years, I just feel like a lot of people were showing up because it was game night. And I hope one day to run it again and maybe run it for people who are more interested. So let's see, up after that. Oh my gosh, is this a D20? I don't know. So much stuff was D20 at that time. Terrible. Oh, I have this one, Extreme Vengeance, which was, like 80s action movies done as an RPG. I remember it being amusing, but I never used it, and I'm not sure that I need to keep it, but we'll see how that goes. Up next, oh my goodness, so RuneQuest. Yeah. I'm still not sure on RuneQuest. I've known about it my whole darn life of gaming, but I never got into it, and I really want to, but also it is so darn daunting. I've tried, and I don't think I'm bouncing off it as a setting. I feel like I kind of understand the setting, but I also feel like it's got so much more going on than I am ready to deal with. So in a sense, it is like I'm bouncing off it. I just don't know that I'm ready to really dive into the game. We'll see. So let me move the camera again. So I'm sort of down on the floor, so, I'm an old man. Moving around is not super easy for me. So yeah, and along with RuneQuest, I'm just going to mention that I did pick up 6 Seasons in Sartar, which from what I understand is supposed to do a lot to help understand the setting and understand what you do in the game. And I do have, of course, the starter set, which just came out this year. This is in 2022. I haven't really gone through it. I looked through it, but I haven't actually tried it out. And I think those should help. I'm just not ready, I think, yet. But I will be. And I'll check it out because I also have this giant monster of a box set that gives you the new edition. Let's see. After that, we have my Warhammer stuff. Now, I was very into 40K early on, I guess. Would have been one of the first games that I played. It wasn't, I was into RPGs first, but it wasn't too long after that my brother got me into Warhammer 40K. We used to play on the floor in his apartment using books for scenery and all that sort of thing. It was very cool. And I played a bunch. I had a couple of armies. When my brother opened a game store, I bought more because I bought a ton of miniatures while I worked there. And I really, I played a lot of it, and kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, with Dungeons and Dragons, it was immediate. The first time I played it, I hated it. I just don't like the rules. With Warhammer, it was like the more I played it, the more I realized I hated the rules. And that's still true. I really don't like the miniature game that is Warhammer. However, I really like the setting, especially the older version of it, where it was still very thick with satire and humor, and it was dark, but the humor was always there. And again, it was always clear that it was satire. The Space Marines were never meant to be good guys; they were awful, and that was part of the point. It's like Judge Dredd. He's not supposed to be a hero. He's a symbol of police state oppression. So I enjoyed that, and I always have held this sort of special. Book has always been sort of important to me, and I've always wanted to run an RPG set in this version of 40K. So maybe one day. And I have a couple of other books for it. I don't even know what this is. Oh, this must be a free RPG Day thing or something, because I don't know. I didn't even realize I had that. Then we get into I have the fantasy miniature rules. Same problem. I just don't like the game. But then I have the Realms of Chaos. And, half of the fun of 40K is chaos. And these books are really bananas, and I love them for that. It's one of those tempting things. It's like I really enjoy the books to read, and I like flipping through them and seeing all the crazy stuff in them. But man, they go for a ton of money on eBay, and it's like, am I ever actually going to run this game? Maybe I should unload them. I haven't gotten there yet, so maybe one of these days. Who knows? Then I've got Zweihander, because I have heard so much good about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd Edition in particular. I've heard so much good about that, and I'm not looking to pay collector prices online for the books and stuff. So, from what I understand, Zweihander is a retro clone of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd Edition. So, I picked it up. It was really cheap for a gigantic book. And, I don't know. Maybe at some point I'll play it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. And then last up, I've got two copies of Everway. Everway is just a really trippy game that I enjoyed a lot when it came out. And I have always been intrigued by it. I've always wanted to return to it. I haven't. The closest I came was somebody was going to run a Fading Suns campaign using Everway as the base mechanic. And it seemed really cool, and I was very excited to try it out. But like a lot of stuff that person tried to put together, it never really coalesced. And I think Tribe 8 was the only successful game we had with him where he actually ran it for some time and we got some story told. Most other stuff either didn't go past a session 0 or didn't go past a session 1. And I think sometimes it just didn't go past talking about. So anyway, Fading Suns with Everway sounded like a cool idea. And I know Everway just had a recent new edition after all these years. I did not pick it up. I did not back it on Kickstarter because I'm kind of Kickstartered out. I'm curious. I don't know. I feel like I haven't seen it available to buy. If it is, I don't know what the price is going to look like. I suspect it's going to be quite expensive. And I don't know if I'm there, especially because I haven't played it in 25 years. I did realize as I was doing this that I actually skipped something. So I'm just going to hop back over here. Because on the previous shelf before this one, at the tail end, I have the old TSR Buck Rogers High Adventure Cliffhangers and War Against the Han. I have always really enjoyed pulp adventure stories. I read the original novel that Buck Rogers is based on, and I loved it. It's TSR. I have not had a lot of good experiences with TSR games, so I have not tried it. Curious to try it. I have heard it has some of the problems of the original Buck Rogers stories, which is that it's got some, old-timey racism that's pretty ugly. I in no way justify it. I understand that it existed. And, sometimes in games I can overwrite it. Like when I run Call of Cthulhu, I typically make a slightly fictional version of the past where certain things aren't as awful as they were. But sometimes it's also important to acknowledge and understand that things were terrible. So I don't know. I don't know how it works in Buck Rogers. I don't know what the racism is like, and I don't know if it's something that can just be plucked out or something that needs to be talked about with players. I really don't know. I still have it. I have never used it. I've barely even opened it up since I acquired it in a collection. But there it sits on my shelf, and we'll see. I just wanted to mention it because I realized I had skipped it in this thing. So that's it for this video. On to the next shelf at some point.